Namaste. My name is Timothy Halloran. I'm an astrologer from Savannah, Georgia. This is a weekly astrological forecast for the week of Tuesday, August 25th. And we're going to be focusing on a full moon in Pisces coming up this Saturday, the 29th. And this is all happening in the year of 2015. And basically, there is a mundane interpretation of this week's astrology, and there is a profoundly deep, underlying, and more so connected to the past and the future interpretation of this astrology and this full moon. And a lot of what I see out there on the internet and being shared in blogs is just barely scraping the surface of what's going on. So we are in the long-term movement entering this somewhat profound time that is going to be very Virgo-centric. Last week we had Jupiter move into Virgo, will remain there for a year. 2 days ago we had the Sun enter Virgo, will remain there for a month. In November of this year, the moon's north node is going to go into Virgo and remain there for a year and a half. And we've had Black Moon Lilith finishing up her transit of Virgo this week as well. So there's a whole lot of Virgo going on. We're entering this major couple year period that is majorly focused on purifying, on fixing up, on making more practical, on making more healthy. And we're also doing a pretty serious reconsideration, reevaluating, revising and fixing our own fundamental belief systems, our own fundamental way of perceiving and interpreting reality. We're entering this long-term period that's going to be much more focused on these types of areas. And so this full moon is very much connected to this long-term transit that we're going to be going through. It's connected to the past age, and it's connected to the work that we need to do to move into the next age. So there really is some deeper, profound stuff going on, but we can also sort of talk about the more mundane things that are going on, as I'm going to attempt to bridge this mundane interpretation and the deeper underlying stuff that's going on. So first of all, we've got the Sun conjunct Jupiter. This is really nice. After having all the Saturn square stuff the last several weeks, really the last month, now we have the Sun conjunct Jupiter in Virgo. And this is a little different than the Sun-Jupiter conjunction we had last month in Leo that was much more solar, excited, fun-loving, and sharing. This Jupiter-Sun conjunction in Virgo is much more about getting our shit together. And I really think Jupiter's transit through Virgo this next year is very much about understanding the function of service to others. Like, it actually brings us into our highest octave of health, of feeling good, of feeling self-satisfied when we start to serve other people. So I see Virgo as a sign that really rules devotional service. And so we're also stepping into this position of being more productive, more working with other people. Now that we've got the Sun conjunct Jupiter, this might be a week where we start to see money kind of start to flow back in if there's been a lack of money going on the last several weeks with the Venus retrograde square to Saturn. So there is some really nice Jupiterian energy that is coming in this week. And furthermore, we're going to have the full moon conjunct Neptune. So this is a full moon in Pisces conjunct Neptune, opposite to the Sun conjunct Jupiter in Virgo. So first of all, the mundane interpretation is, although there is some profound underlying stuff that is being foreshadowed, sort of prophesized leading into the future, there is also the overwhelming propensity for us to escape and gloss over the details and not worry so much about the underlying stuff. And there can be some escapism, some fantasy, some debauchery, and let's just have a good time and let's just soak up and enjoy and all of these things. And that's very positive. There is a lot of magic that's also going on with this Neptune-Jupiter opposition, but there is deeper stuff that is going on. And really this polarity between Virgo and Pisces, I see these as being the most misunderstood signs in astrology. Virgo, because the archetype of Virgo was the most oppressed throughout the last several thousands of years, and Pisces, because Pisces is simply the most inconceivable and far out and least rational sign. So we really need to talk about these polarities. And we got to talk about what Pisces even really is. Because a full moon always illuminates our emotions. This is a week where we might be feeling more. And yet the sensitivity of Pisces really is different than any other type of sensitivity. And it is really underestimated. And there's many words that get assigned to Pisces, such as unconditional love and spirituality and soul. And those are the most appropriate words that we can assign to what Pisces is. Because Pisces truly does not have a bottom to it. Pisces is not actually definable at all. And so the sensitivity of Pisces that we will be feeling this Saturday, and for those of us who don't understand Pisces, might think Pisces are always crybabies, or Pisces blah blah blah, I just don't understand it. We might get a little taste of it this weekend. As the sensitivity of Pisces is really a dissolving, it is a merging with everything. Everything that surrounds us, envelops us, we merge with it. This is Pisces. Pisces is dissolving absolutely into spirit. And although Pisces is considered a water sign, it is basically ether. It is the water that is in and in between everything is Pisces. And so the sensitivity of Pisces is dissolving into everything. And because this is a full moon in Pisces conjunct Neptune, and Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, the king of the unfathomable ocean of divine bliss and unconditional love, we are all going to be submerging into that ocean of divine bliss, of unconditional love, of what else? Confusion, lack of clarity, disillusionment, escapism, fantasy. You see, unconditional love is not a very easily understood thing. Spirit and soul is not a very easily understood thing. And we have not understood spirit or soul or unconditional love yet. And that is because we're actually not yet quite into the age of Aquarius. As many of us know, we are in this long-term transition of the age, from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And so this is where this full moon becomes relevant to the entire past age and the future in which we are moving into. And the reason for this is we are actually wrapping up the Virgo sub-age of the Pisces age. We have not completed the Pisces age, and we will not complete the Pisces age until we actually understand what Pisces is. Until we actually understand what soul and spirit and consciousness and unconditional love is. So Neptune represents the collective consciousness. This full moon means we're all going to be feeling the collective consciousness. And if you would like to know why so many astrologers are always saying, it's such a crazy time, there's so much excitement going on, it's a really profound time, it's usually because those astrologers are connected to the collective consciousness. So for those of us that like to give astrologers a hard time and say, astrologers always just say it's crazy, astrologers say that there's always something crazy and profound going on. Well, yeah, because there is. And if you're connected to the collective consciousness, that's your everyday living experience, is the craziness, is the unfathomable nature of what's going on. Where? Everywhere. You feel everything. Pisces has no time, has no limits, has no boundaries. And so this stuff does get quite profound. It gets deeper than simply just our goals and our dreams and our desires, which is also a huge part of this full moon. Is Jupiter conjunct Virgo says, I want to set the new regiment. Sun conjunct Jupiter in Virgo. New regiment, new health standards. I want to be a better servant of others. It makes me feel more healthy, more good to be of service to others. But how do I do this? How do I implement my standards? How do I implement my new goals? And this full moon in Pisces is also illuminating total goals. The end-all, be-all goal is Pisces. Pisces is the light at the end of the tunnel. Pisces is our fundamental belief system. Whatever we consider to be the light at the end of the tunnel, whatever we consider God as a personality, as a light, as whatever, is Pisces. And this is the point, is we've been trying to define God, spirit, blah, 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 love for thousands of years. And does any two people have the same definition of God, of spirit, of love? No. Pisces is incredibly tricky. Pisces doesn't fit into anything. In fact, what Pisces is always doing is shifting, is dissolving, and beckoning us deeper and deeper into unconditional love. And as soon as you think you grasp it, as soon as you think you touch the bottom, it gets deeper. It gets more far out. It goes beyond our conceptions, our man-made structures of philosophy, of reality, of religion, of culture. It goes way, way, way beyond this. And so I think this is the deeper essence of what's going on with this full moon. This full moon is actually going to be leading into a solar eclipse next month in Virgo. And actually, this full moon is going to be connected to a solar eclipse we have in March of 2016. I believe March 8th, 2016, we have a solar eclipse in Pisces that is also going to be opposite to Jupiter. And the moon is going to be conjunct Chiron. And that solar eclipse in 2016 initiates a 6-month period of some very deep and profound healing work. And that full moon in 2016 will be square to Saturn in Sagittarius. That is going to be forcing us to confront our own belief systems, our own philosophies, our own understanding of truth, and challenge that understanding. It doesn't get deep enough. It's not complete enough. It doesn't actually fully grasp God's spirit, unconditional love. And so the reason this goes so deep and can be connected so much to the past age is this Virgo sub-age that we are in is very much about healing and purifying many of the misguided concepts and beliefs that have been prevalent in the collective consciousness throughout the last several thousands of years. Now, here is a very important point. Some people don't really seem to understand that they are connected to the collective consciousness, which means that the total history of humanity up until now is extraordinarily relevant to you no matter what nation, what culture, wherever you come from, because we all are connected to it all. In truth, in reality, that is the understanding of Pisces. And so the history that we are fixing, that we are healing and revising, is very much stemming from this story and belief system that became all prevalent in the collective consciousness. And the story that best describes this collective belief is the story of the Garden of Eden in the Bible. And for those who know the story of the Garden of Eden, there is a very harsh and direct lesson and concept and belief that woman is inferior to man. And furthermore, there is a story going on within that story that has to do with what I need to do versus what I want to do. As Adam and Eve need to eat every single fruit in the Garden of Eden except that from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, in order to be kept happy and safe in the Garden of Eden. That's what they need to do. And what they want to do is eat the forbidden fruit. And so we have this story of the forbidden fruit and of woman being inferior to man in this Garden of Eden myth. And this is a all-pervasive concept that has infected the entire collective consciousness, which means that those concepts and ideas does affect every single human being on this planet, whether they realize it or not. And so if we want to not escape, if we want to actually use the magic and the healing power that is in this full moon, we are going to be feeling what in ourselves is connected to a very deep collective story that can reflect this Garden of Eden story. And we can start confronting the little issues, the little things inside of ourselves that have resulted from this, what I'm going to say is a man-made concept. That man is superior to woman is a man-made concept, and I'm also going to say that the forbidden fruit is a man-made concept. So we've also got Venus retrograde moving retrograde back to conjunct Mars and Leo all this week, and that's going to be exact September 1st. Some of these ideals and belief systems might be connected to how we create our own willpower, and certainly to sexuality as well, as there is a theme of dominance and submission. And we're not talking about Scorpio here, we're talking about Virgo Pisces, which has to do with fundamental beliefs and our fundamental understanding of roles. What is the role of man? What is the role of woman? What is the function of man? What is the function of woman? And how do we serve and how do we love in a way that is actually unconditionally loving, as we should hopefully understand by this point in our evolution that so-called story of the Garden of Eden depicts an extremely unconditionally loving God. First of all, man superior, real great example of loving God. And second of all, forbidden fruit, if you eat that fruit, you're getting cut off. Not unconditionally loving God or spirit or unconditional love. No, there is misguided concepts in the entire collective consciousness. And so this is the stuff we can be feeling. We might be feeling what in the collective consciousness needs to get cleaned up. And this is why this is going to be initiating the next several years of restoring, of healing the divine feminine, of understanding what is the Eve energy that got repressed, that got put away. At the time of this full moon, we're also going to have Black Moon Lilith conjunct the North Node with Mercury on the Virgo Libra cusp. This does play out in our relationships. It does affect the way we relate to other people. This really deep, fundamental, having to do with our belief systems, our concepts, really does play out on many different levels. So, from a more mundane perspective, this week is really good because, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we can really hammer some stuff out. We're going to have the moon moved into Capricorn this morning, moves into Aquarius Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday. Saturn's going to be sextile to that moon and Mercury. It's a really good time where we can start busting stuff out. If we've been experiencing a lack of money the last several weeks with Venus retrograde, we might see stuff flowing back in. But at the same time, might we be aware, using our extra sixth sense that is in fact connected to everything, start picking up some of the underlying mystical little messages and little bumps and little urges that are coming up from a very, very deep part of ourselves. So deep it might not even seem like us. There is some major healing that is being initiated, and we can start seeing the foreshadowing of this. What in my health, my schedule, my daily regimen, my routine, my relationship to other people and how I work with other people, how I serve other people, what within all of these things, in the tiny little subtle interactions, in the tiny little subtle feelings and urges and desires, what is in there? What is being clued at that is really connected to a deeper, more fundamental understanding that shows me my fundamental belief system? How do I perceive reality? What do I even believe my purpose of being here is? What do I think the world is? Yes, Neptune in Pisces is everything, is the collective. What is the collective? This is what we're going to be feeling. And for those of us who can really get deep into it and really sense things out, and you start to feel the collective consciousness, you start to break into some things that can be a little disturbing. We start to see, feel, understand what stuff needs to get cleaned up, that is distorted, that is a little unreal, that is a little man-made and synthetic and not natural. This is what this is all leading us into. As the Garden of Eden myth is unnatural, the Garden of Eden is nature. The Garden of Eden myth, depicting a superior Adam and an unloving God, is mistaken. It is synthetic. It is man-made. It is distorted. It is perverted. And so this is what we can pick up on this week, is little perversions and distortions in the entire collective consciousness. And this is the stuff we've come to revise. This stuff does play out in so many facets. How we create our own sexuality. Yes, the way it can play out sexually is we're so disconnected from nature. And furthermore, the forbidden fruit idea damned sexuality, which was also damning femininity in many respects, as the sexual energy and power is feminine. So by damning the forbidden fruit, we also damned nakedness. Remember Adam and Eve, they have to get clothed and all of these things. And because of the damnation of nakedness and the damnations of sexuality, there has been so many perverse distortions. And this is why we have MTV and everybody wants to have this really cheap, shallow sex, go to the bar, one-night stands, fetishes where there's all sorts of funny things involved, and it's basically distracting us from the nature and the underlying purpose of what sexuality even is. There is power, there is magic, there is love that is in work, even in sex. And I use sex as an example because it's so fundamental and so natural, but this stuff plays out in many, many levels. There are many levels in which this plays out, in which we are unnatural, things got a little perverted and distorted, and now we can really start to sense this. Okay? And the way that we can really best harness this full moon is to not take anything overly personally, not blame ourselves, but we do have to surrender. We are born into this world that already has a collective consciousness, and you did not choose what this collective consciousness is. We come here and we get submerged into it. The world as it is at this particular point in time, we don't choose how the world is at this point in time. It is what it is. We have to accept it. We have to just surrender. And furthermore, faith. Yes, full moon in Pisces conjunct Neptune, this is all about faith. Remember in your heart, not in your mind, not through words, what love is, what God is, what spirit is, and you will feel God and spirit and love hold you and embrace you this time. Even as we descend into the collective consciousness, confront what needs to be cleaned up. We can remember that the truth of unconditional love speaks for itself and only for itself. You don't read it in a book, you don't learn it from a teacher, it speaks through itself. It is a heart-to-heart process. Any real teacher teaches through a heart-to-heart process. It all comes from within. And as we go within, we find that everything is within us already. And what is without of us is within us simultaneously. It gets really far out. It gets really inconceivable. And this is Pisces. Let's submerge into it. Let's dissolve into everything. And let's furthermore see this as the necessary thing to do out of love. If you love somebody, you dissolve with them. If you love your nation, you dissolve with your nation. You dissolve with your culture. You dissolve with your religion. So let us all dissolve into this world, into this culture, into this history, even though it might not be perfect yet. And so a part of this full moon with Neptune opposite to Sun in Jupiter is we can see the difference between ideals and reality, what we want and what we need. And this is a time to keep the faith, harness it with all within, surrender, let go, be okay even with what doesn't look good. This is counter Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden says, forbidden fruit, never touch that shit. Let's get rid of these stupid notions. That is an unloving notion. Unconditional love means you dissolve with everything. There is no right and wrong, good or bad, black or white, evil or good. That is stupid man-made concepts, taking us away from nature, away from God, away from spirit, and away from unconditional love. So unconditional love means surrender to everything, be okay with everything, and love everything. And if we can do that, that is how we will start to integrate and embody this profoundly healing time that is going to push us into the new age, where we start to understand that Jesus was not just one person that we have to bow down and kiss this image of a figure, but we understand that Jesus was exemplifying, as he said in his own words, what we can possibly do by becoming beacons and fountainheads of unconditional love. So in this endeavor, I'm wishing you absolutely all the best. I would be very happy to look at your own chart and transits. We can see how this is personally unfolding for you. I got so many great responses for the last video that I did. Thank you guys so much. I've been really happy with a lot of the suggestions, and I really look forward to implementing some of them, to sharing more, to speaking with you more, doing classes, doing more videos and these types of things. So I'm excited about the future. I myself have all these goals and these ideas singing from my heart. Yes, this is Neptune, as I am love, I am God. And yet we are still putting it all together, doing the work, and we can enjoy that process as well. It's enjoyable to be in tune with the divine and to simultaneously be a little human being that's just living my life normally simultaneously. That is miraculous. That is inconceivable. That is profound. So let's step into it. I'm wishing all the best for you and yours. Namaste.